welcome back to another episode of Why I Love BNI, your podcast spotlighting different businesses and different chapters on what they love about their business, serving their community, and of course, being a part of the BNI family. So today I'm super excited to have my guest Ed with us today. Ed, thank you so much for the time today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Macy. I'm sure excited to be here as well. Appreciate the opportunity.
Of course. Well, Ed and I got connected through obviously a really amazing gal over in BNI Jacksonville Beach, Profit Builders, which Ed is also a part of. And Ed and I had a great one-to-one. I don't remember if it was maybe a week or 2 weeks ago. Either way, it was fantastic, and I loved his story and his energy. So I was like, I'm so excited to have you on the podcast. So without much further ado, I'll kind of let Ed take us away. And just why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do and how you help people?
Awesome. Thank you so much. Well, again, my name is Ed Randall, and I'm a partner with International Business and Franchise Advisors. And in that name, we help people sell their business for the maximum value. We
Mm,
help people create an exit strategy that maximizes their net income after they sell the business. For most people, the selling of the business is their 401k. It's the most
mm,
amount of money they're going to have in any single place in their life, and they want to make sure they get the most for that. So our company comes in and does a presentation. We get the financials, we run the spreads, we do our recasting, we get on our software with the different multiples based on the industry, and then we help put a range of value that we think it's going to sell for. And usually businesses take between 6 and 9 months to sell. So in that process, I've been doing SBA loans for 20 years. And SBA loan, Small Business Administration, the 7A loan in particular, was developed so people can buy businesses. And that has been my focus for the last 20 years. I've seen over 100 deals closed. I've closed over $100 million of SBA 7A financing. And the whole purpose was I just saw this need in the business brokerage market to bring a level of professionalism that I wasn't seeing in a lot of the brokers, and just felt I wanted to bring my financial background. I've owned 3 businesses, I've sold 2 businesses. I've been approved by the SBA once. Thank goodness I was declined once, or I would still be paying for it. So there's a lot of great know-how and wisdom in my background that I want to really help other people find that success without the pitfalls that I fell into. And I love
mm.
doing
That's amazing. Well, I've learned a lot about business brokerage, selling businesses and stuff in the past few months. Considering we both have the connection in Herb Stewartson, who is a business broker down in Port Orange. So I've
that.
learned a lot from him, and I'm very thankful because there's just so much. If you've never gone through the experience or you don't have someone tell you what the experience is like, there's so much you don't know. So Ed, I'd love for you to educate people just a little bit, right? Say someone owns a business and maybe they're not looking to sell, maybe not even the next 10 years, right? But I've heard advice where you should really just be contacting a business broker. If you have the idea to ever sell, you should really be contacting them as soon as possible. Can you kind of walk us through a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And we do a lot with folks that aren't quite ready to sell. The hardest ones to sell are the people that are desperate, right? They get cancer, they
Mm,
get a health scare, they break something, they can't work, they need to sell. That's always a very tough deal. When we have a couple of years to work with people, then most CPAs want to zero out their net income so people don't pay taxes. If you don't pay
mm,
taxes as you're getting ready to sell your business, you will not sell your business for the maximum amount of money. You
mm.
have to pay taxes in order to get the most money. If you eliminate all your taxes, you're going to get minimal for your business. You can't have double dip. And that's the most important thing I really want to stress to people. There's some CPAs that don't do that, of course, and that's a lot easier to work with people that their finances are in place. But if they're not, planning today for what might happen in the future is ultra critical. Every one of the people that I sold businesses for in the last couple of years, they've all had cancer, they've had a health scare, something happened, and none of them had pre-planned for what their exit strategy was going to be. You know what you're going to do with, you have insurance on your business, you have insurance on your car, you have insurance on your house, you have life insurance. You need insurance to know, what are you going to do with your business? How are you going to unload it? How are you going to sell it? Is it a seller note? Do you need SBA financing? Are you losing so much money that you just can't sell it? I mean, there's so much to
Mm,
uncover with small businesses, whether they're ready to sell today or tomorrow. Every business will be sold someday. Every
yeah.
business.
That's a great point. And I actually have a very personal story about my family. They owned a Chinese restaurant up in Michigan. And this all happened before I was born, specifically. But my family had tried to sell the business, right? To another family, and they leased it out, or like there's some agreement, right? And within, my family had put so much work into this restaurant, maybe like 10 years, I think, of like really working hard. They had a great reputation in the city. Everyone loved them. They were the go-to Chinese place. And then whatever happened with the agreement, the new owners took over, and it was like it plummeted so quickly within just maybe 2 or 3 years that my family was just like, we need to take it back. We'll just take it back at this point. So I think that's really a great lesson for a lot of people to kind of learn and understand that if you just don't have the systems in place, if you sell your business, I mean, maybe your name is still attached to it, maybe something like that, and they go, "Oh my God, how did you let your business do that?" You're like, "It's not my business." But the things weren't set in place for to make sure that transition was as smooth as possible. And think about the other owners. They don't want to buy a business and run it into the ground. They want to make it as seamless as possible too.
That's right.
So that's why you have someone like Ed in your back pocket to be like, walk me through, you tell me what to do, you take over and make sure that everything is as easy as possible for every single party involved.
That's right. That's a
Yeah.
good point.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's so helpful to be a part of the BNI network, to have access to so many people who are able to help support businesses through those transition periods. Can you share a little bit on like, who's the first person that invited you to BNI, first of all, and then we can kind of talk a little bit more in a minute.
Sure. I was in my second time with BNI. I originally started in 2020 when I started a screen enclosure company and
Oh,
joined Success Partners in St. Augustine. Um, I got a great Adam, so I can't remember Adam's last name. They own Brothers Gutters, and he invited me. He said,
mm,
"Hey, do you want to scale your business?" And I'm like, "I'm afraid to scale my business. I just started. I don't want too much business all of a sudden." And I said, "You know what? I'm going to do it." And I went from zero to $400,000 in my first year with BNI. It was
wow.
amazing. So when I sold that company, because I got prostate cancer and things happened to me
Mm,
in my
I'm
life, and
sorry.
that's
Yeah.
why I know these things happen, and I know businesses will be for sale someday. Because if your son doesn't want it or your daughter doesn't want it, are you going to close it or are you going to sell it and make some money? So once I started my business brokerage firm with my partner, Rick Gardner, I knew BNI was the first call I was going to make. It was before I joined the chamber. It was before I called money pages, Google ads, anything. BNI is the money maker for my business.
Wow. That's incredible. I think you might have shared those numbers with me, but hearing that again is like, oh my gosh, it's really listening to the power of BNI. And
That's right.
obviously the income you can make from BNI of being a part of that network and all those referrals is amazing. But like I just mentioned, you are a part of, like you and maybe like also like the home services group. They always work really well together, right? And I'm sure you just work so well with other business in the business services sphere. That's what it's called. Can you share a little bit about, do you have any success stories where you were able to work with another person, maybe in your chapter, not in your chapter, or some of the connections you've been able to make to service your clients?
Sure. Yeah. Of my first two businesses we sold this year came from none other than Mike Michler, a business
Um,
broker, and he was the BNI chapter member of the year a couple times. He and I have been friends since 2008, and through BNI, this last he sent me a buyer who was going to buy a different business, and I had the business listed. It was a cement curbing company around your landscape for
mhm.
your flower beds. And Mike sent the buyer, and I was working with him for an SBA loan on a different deal. And we took switched him over to the cement company, closed on the cement company, and then I introduced him back into my chapter to the vehicle wrap gentleman, the CPA, the insurance person, Natalie at Money Pages. I mean, it just makes me a trusted advisor when I have all this group of people, professional people who I know and personally trust to give them those referrals. And it
Mhm.
makes my business look so much bigger. I love BNI.
Definitely. Yeah, and Mike is a great person to know. I mean, he's one of the best people to know probably in Northeast Florida.
Yeah.
He's fantastic. He's been on the podcast, of course, because he has
Yeah.
so much BNI wisdom to share.
Yeah.
He gave some really great nuggets. So I know it's just like I always hear some stories like that of like, oh well, Macy, not only was I able to grow my business, but I was able to make, life-changing connections, friendships. And that I think really fuels my passion to hear that you have so many resources to serve your clients, to serve the businesses that you care about. So that's awesome. I know, I mean, you've been, in and out of BNI just a little bit, so maybe not like a lot, but definitely I'm sure you have some really great tips to give to even newer members of BNI. So what piece of advice would you kind of give before we close out the podcast today?
Well, I'm a salesman. I love selling. I love meeting people and connecting people. So I sit at the front of the room for 2 months, being the most one-to-ones for November and December. So
Congrats.
one-to-ones is where you meet people. One-to-ones is when you get to know people, where they go to church, about their family, about their business. Some people actually in one-to-ones told me they want to sell now, and some people
Wow.
want to sell in 3 to 5 years. One gentleman is hiring me to come in and set up his whole sales force for a new division of his company and
Mm-hmm.
hire the salespeople. So when we do advising, it's not just listing and selling, but it's getting to know that person and really trying to get them to success. How do we,
Yes.
everyone in BNI wants that. We want the businesses successful. We want our clients successful. And through that success and that positive energy, we bring goodness to the community. And that's the most important thing.
That's amazing. And, like I mentioned, obviously all my podcasts are just kind of one big one-to-one for me. And
Yes.
I've just had so much fun learning about people's businesses, and I'm always listening to like, I'm the type of person where like you'll tell me something like, "Oh yeah, Macy, I do this." And I'm like, I'll think of some random business and be like, I feel like you guys could have a connection. Like
Yes.
you guys both go into people's homes. Is that good enough for you? And they're like, yeah, you know what, just do it. And I'm like, okay, cool. And I've been able to see some really cool connections flourish from something like that. And it's
Yep.
like one time I connected like a mobility company, like an accessibility mobility company with a dentist office. Because I was
Yep.
like, you guys both service seniors, might as well know each other. I don't
That's
know if you
right.
guys will ever use each other, but at least you'll know each other. And from
Yep.
there, they were able to get like three more connections out of that because they knew someone. I'm like, oh yeah, that's incredible. So that's really the power of BNI are those one-to-ones and really listening during those one-to-ones. It's easy to get on an interview, a one-to-one and just talk to someone and just talk, but listening for those keywords of like,
Yeah.
how can I always try to go in with a goal of like, can I at least give them one referral when I leave the one-to-one? Can I at least give them one connection? Or can I at least learn of a really great connection and keep my eyes out? So there's just so many great things. So Ed, thank you so
Yep.
much for coming on the podcast. I had a lot of fun. I hope you had fun.
Thank you, Macy. I enjoyed being here, and you're awesome at doing this. I
Oh,
appreciate the opportunity. Good job.
thank you so much. Well, I appreciate it. I can only be as good as my guest. So you were a fantastic guest. You gave so many great points. If anyone's interested in connecting with Ed or learning a little bit more about what he does and how he helps people, I'll have all the information in the description so you can click, copy, and paste, check him out just a little bit easier. And thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.